It's now time to see if you can dance. Hi everyone, Boomer here, and welcome to the 4th episode of Path to 10k DPS. You'll notice I've changed ship. This is the automated personnel unit ship, and there is a reason. Just let me fly away so that we don't have enter the Kara system in the on the screen. I just want you guys to be able to see the ship. God, how far away can you warp into a system on? Right, here we go. This is the APU ship, and the reason I decided to change is because the Star Cruiser Odyssey is not available to people who didn't do the event, or I think it is available, but it's something like 500,000 fleet credits. And you need a tier 5 star base. It's really like ridiculously hard to get if you don't have it. So what I've done is I bought an automated personnel unit ship off the exchange. These are incredibly cheap. You can get yourself one. Just so I can show you guys, I haven't cheated. It is not upgraded, it is just simply a straight up T5 ship. We're in sector space at the moment, so these stats aren't exactly correct. And what I've done, I've limited myself to nothing in this build costs, to be honest, none of it costs over a million energy credits. Most of it is available free, or was available free. And the things I've put it that are like ship grinds, only for protection, so you can actually change up what you want. But first, I'll go through what I've got on the ship. I have 7 Mark 11 phaser beam 11s with the crit D ×2 trait. You can get these off the mission Everything Old is New. Just run it sort of 7 times. It'll take you a couple of hours, and you'll have 7 of these bad boys straight up. So we have no problem there with getting all of that in. Sorry about that. I am using 3-piece Dyson. Yes, unfortunately my deflector is upgraded to Mark 14 because I was actually using this, but just, you know, for the sake of it, this isn't actually going to increase my damage. It only increases my hull integrity in my power insulators. So, and I don't do exotic damage with this build. So overall, it's not going to have too big of an effect on my DPS. So I've got the deflector array, the impulse engines, which give you a they do give you a bonus to weapons, a bonus to auxiliary power settings, and you have a chance to get a lot faster if you're hit by a directed energy weapons attack, and the Solanae resilient shields, which give you a chance to reflect damage back. And the 3-piece set actually gives you a couple of cool things. We get a big shield bonus power, and we also get structural integrity leech, which means we can actually heal ourselves with our energy weapons, which is pretty cool. As far as where you get the Solanae stuff, you get, I believe, if I'm correct, is it Step Between the Stars where you get it? Yeah, you can get all of the equipment on the Step Between the Stars mission. So again, just rerun that mission and you will be able to get hold of that. As for warp core, this one really came up because there's no real ability to get a free warp core or a free really good warp core. So what I decided to do was go the halfway house, and I'm using the Kabali field stabilizing warp core, which came from the event. If I was being really pedantic, I could use the Solanae overcharge warp core, which would give me the 4-piece and give me the advanced metaphasic shield. But I think that it's more likely people are going to have this than not. Again, this is a shield power boost as well, so you're looking mainly at tankiness here more than anything else. This is not going to affect my DPS figures, so you know, I wasn't going to put elite fleet warp core with AMP on it because there was no point in doing that. People aren't going to have that. So those bits are all capable of getting free. I have made a couple of concessions as far as budget goes. I've allowed myself tier 1 or tier 2 reputation gear. The reason for that is that, well, number one, I have it. Number two, I think that if you're going to 10k DPS, you're going to be at those levels anyway, because the Borg ones are incredibly easy to grind. You can do normal STFs with 5k DPS quite easily, so and you'll be able to grind yourself up to getting these two things. So I think that's it. And the Romulan rep, you just do Tal Dewa for a little bit and you'll be up at level 1 or 2 in absolutely no time at all. So I think that these are definitely worth doing. Yes, my kinetic cutting beam is up at Mark 14, but again, it's not one of my major damage dealers. It's really here for the 2-piece. Because the KCB can't fire through shields, so often it just bounces off your opponent's shields if they have it. So it's not actually it's not my monster damage dealer as far as this goes, although obviously it is going to deal quite a bit of damage. Assimilated console. We have, again, this is upgraded, yours won't be, but this is also fine, and you really just want it for the 2-piece, which gives you +5 to weapons power, and it also gives you the 2.5% chance to proc the Omega weapon amplifier, which means you don't lose any weapon power from firing, which is incredible. I have the 0-point energy conduit just because that is it's a big crit hit chance, and because I have limited myself away from using expensive doffs and things like that, then I can't use superior. I have used one superior Romulan officer because I don't have any other tactical officers apart from one Bajoran. So I can only limit myself so much, unfortunately, with my roster. But most of this should be okay, and it will get you there. Let's just say that it will get you there. Universal console, this is the Kabali console you get from the ship. Again, this is just a hull heal, so it's not a DPS increase or anything like that. So, again, same thing. I just want to be able to put, I don't want to be putting expensive stuff that's going to increase my DPS on this ship. So if there's stuff that someone might not be able to get or won't be able to get after a little bit of grind, then yeah, I won't do this. These are the most controversial things I've added down at the science consoles. These are the Mark 10 versions of the flow capacitor consoles. I've allowed myself these because they are incredibly cheap at Mark 10, and these have not been increased. And in fact, if you look at the numbers I do for this ship, they're not actually adding that much to my DPS. It's only when you have the absolute craziness that comes when you get them to Mark 14 and upgrade them to Epic. That's when they start becoming a monster DPS edition. They are a DPS edition, I'm not going to lie, but they're so cheap in terms of fleet credits and dilithium, and that these are super easy to get hold of, and I would recommend doing it. And these are at Mark 10 as well. So, I'm not using a leech, I'm not using any of the super expensive stuff, and I haven't upgraded these, so you're looking at getting these as cheap as possible. And in fact, I think I've got one that's flow and one that's I've got one that's flow and one that's oh no, they're both flow. It's just I obviously picked one up earlier. That's interesting. They obviously changed what they're looking at. Down at the bottom, I have 3 Mark 12 blue phaser relay consoles. So these aren't the fleet ones or anything like that. They are... How can I put this? They are actually very cheap at the moment. One actually dropped from a mission. Someone randomly listed on the exchange for 15k, so I sniped it. But for the most part, these are currently at about 75 to 80,000 energy credits on the exchange. So, they are super easy to get hold of. The other console I didn't mention, I've just got an RCS accelerator because this ship is a cruiser and it handles like a bleeding tug. So therefore, I have decided to add it. you know, make it an accelerator. But you can see I haven't upgraded it, so I don't have any of the upgrades that the APU cruiser could have at getting T5U. Just to show, in traits, I have taken out any trait that you can't get. That's, you know, I've taken out any trait that's expensive that you can't get normally. So I'm not using Beam Barrage. I'm not using Give Your All. I'm not using Helmsman. I'm not using Particle Manipulator, although it would be useless. You know, I'm using basically what you can. I am using no Starship traits whatsoever, so I'm not using All Hands on Deck or Repair Nanites or Reciprocality or anything like that. As far as my stations go, I do have one Romulan. There was no way I could get around it. I only have Romulan officers, unfortunately. So he's in there. That's 2.5% crit, but there's just little things going on here. He's on Tactical Team 1, and I have a Bajoran here. Is that a Bajoran? Oh shit, I've got another Romulan. I didn't realise that. I shouldn't have done that. What was I got? Yeah, let's do it this way then. Apologies for that. Let's just swap those round. I really do not want I really don't want to just have 100% Romulan spam on this. Now this is going to have an effect on my DPS, but I was still getting around about 10 with this build, and I haven't really put anything that I could into this. The rest of it will be bonus stuff. So I have a Commander Engineering who's a Bolian. She has emergency power to shields 1, auxiliary power to emergency battery, emergency power to weapons 3, and directed energy modulation 3. Now they are going to be available on the exchange, the kit modules. They might be a little bit expensive, but you know, this ship you can probably pull together for less than 5 million energy credits, which for an endgame ship capable of doing 10k DPS is very, you know, you've seen how easy it is to earn energy credits from my other videos. So for 5 million energy credits, 10k DPS ish, you're doing okay. Don't forget, what I'm going to show you here is going to be a run where I have no other people buffing me, so no one else with attack pattern beta or no one else with anything like that. Lieutenant Commander Engineering, Engineering Team 1, Auxiliary to Battery 1, and I also have Directed Energy Modulation 2. So I'm sort of abandoning, and I probably shouldn't have 2 copies of Directed Energy Modulation because they're on the same cooldown. So I think I will get rid of this reverse shield polarity. In fact, let's do that now. Where are we? Stations, that reverse shield polarity. I'm gonna do that because 2 copies of directed energy modulation isn't worth it. They both go on 1 minute cooldown, so you know their shared cooldown locks them out anyway, so it just isn't worth doing it. Let's just save this loadout. And my science officer has science team because we're going to be low on auxiliary power, so I'm not going to use that. And hazard emitters 2 is going to be used as a debuff more than anything else. So that's the build that we're going with. Oh, duty officers, I haven't shown them off yet, have I? I'm only using 4. I'm using 3 technicians, which you can get hold of for free, and 1 warp core engineer, which gives me a power increase. You could use a rare one as well. I've got 2 completely open positions here, so you know this is very bare bones as far as a build goes. So let's watch it in action. Unfortunately, the first time I ran this mission, the Enterprise showed up, so I was like, yes, I'm doing 15k DPS with this build, and then you realise that the Enterprise was doing 6 of it. So, you know, I can't guarantee that this is going to be 10k DPS in just a straight up Romulan mission where you're not getting buffed. But don't forget, I'm a science captain. If you're a tactical captain, you are going to be doing more DPS than I am. So, therefore, because you're going to have attack pattern alpha, etc. So, there really is very little excuse for not being able to pull 9 to 10k DPS. And this really, as I said, you know, I'm flying a tier 5 ship with absolutely no buffs to it whatsoever. I almost was tempted to use the Sathanas, but again, she's a bought ship. Cool. Right, let's activate the weapon console to give me a bit more weapons power. Here we go, sync everything up. You'll notice things don't melt anything like they do normally, but hey, just get used to it. Keep a broadside on. Oh, my shield's got hit there, the first shield landed. Okay, let's face over there. Looks like I evasived a little too far, so I'm going to lose some DPS because of that. God, this is such a chore given how much damage my Vesta does, but hey. So that was rather slow compared to my Vesta, obviously, but we'll see how that has done. Wasn't very good. Let's switch to this, and there you go. So that's 10,000 DPS, and don't forget that that is with no benefits from a fleet, or no benefits from being in a fleet at a ISA or anything like that. So no attack, no like stacking attack pattern beaters or anything like that that are going to help deal damage. And you know, my critical hits are not great here. My accuracy isn't fantastic either. So you know, it was a bit of a mess. And just to make sure, here you can see my plasma explosions were 1000 DPS there. So those consoles are worth getting for the deeps, but for most of the part it was my beam array fire at will, my phaser arrays, and my directed energy modulation. I did have some damage from pets, which are my photonic ships, but obviously a tactical captain's going to have attack pattern alpha or something along those lines, which is going to cause a lot more damage on that front. So that is pretty much the test on this front, where you know, I'm not using anything like mega endgame kit here. All this build is just a synergistic build that, you know, that I have looked at, you know, I have tried to put together on a cheap ship that, you know, we are that I think pretty much anyone is capable of getting at that point. And you know, it was time to see whether I could dance with this build, and I think that it's been pulled off fairly easily at this point. Yeah, it's not. There is certainly some grinding that will be going on with it, but there's no way that you shouldn't be able to pull this here. If you want to do advanced FTFs and do 10k DPS, here's how you do it on the cheap. And don't forget that advanced STFs are the complete end game content. So therefore you are going to want to do it in this sort of shit. And so hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. If you want me to develop on any form, see what I will probably do in a continuation of this series is then going to, now we've reached 10k DPS, I think that the best thing to do would be to go, how do we go from 10k to 30k and above? How do we, what sort of things are we looking for to make things easier for ourselves? And overall, I think that that should be something to look forward to. But anyway, guys, that's it for this episode of Path to 10k. Thanks very much for watching. This is Boomer, and I will see you next time.